Alright folks, today's video is an excursion into intelligence of parrots. That's a bit funny because we humans haven't yet come up with a proper definition of what intelligence in humans is. Well, let's still try to put together a picture of intelligence in parrots. So, hi animal lovers and welcome back to this YouTube channel. And let's just jump right into today's topic. When you Google intelligence, among the top results you find this. So, it seems like there are several types of intelligence. Depending on the source, the number of intelligence types varies from 8 to 10. So, let's just go with that theory that there are several types of intelligence. Google also tells us that intelligence is cognitive or mental performance, especially in problem solving. We tend to measure the intelligence of our fellow species members by so-called IQ tests. I took such an IQ test under standardized conditions a couple of years ago, and I'm not sure what it actually measures. It seems to be quite focused on linguistic and logical intelligence. But how do you evaluate the intelligence of musics or arts geniuses, that of great athletes or cooks? And how do you assess the intelligence of animals? There are great books on this subject, which also discuss whether we humans would be able to comprehend the intelligence of animals. At least we can test some animals such as chimpanzees and parrots, as they can easily learn to use screens and they can think abstractly enough to be able to use symbols. So their visual and logical intelligence may be somehow similar to ours. In the 1980s and 1990s, Dr. Irene Pepperberg's grey parrot Alex became very famous as Dr. Pepperberg and Alex demonstrated that Alex could use referential speech and understood the words he was using.
Alex, what toy? Nail. Nail, that's right.
To get there, Alex first had to learn to speak a few words. This was achieved through the model rival method. In a nutshell, it worked like that. Dr. Pepperberg, a second trainer, and Alex sat together. Dr. Pepperberg asked Trainer 2, "What's that?" Trainer 2 would answer, "Wood." Dr. Pepperberg would repeat happily, "Yes, wood," and then hand over the wood to Trainer 2, who would happily chew it. Alex would watch this, understand what's going on, and pick up the label wood. Then Dr. Pepperberg would turn to Alex and ask, "What's that?" Finally, Alex would be able to answer wood. So wood would be given to him and he would happily chew it. Using this method, Alex could build up a solid vocabulary, and his use of this vocabulary could then be examined in experiments. Such learning in a social context works very well, not only for parrots, by the way, but also for us humans. However, Dr. Pepperberg's and Alex's methodology was very complex and difficult, and it always needed a second trainer so that Alex had a model and rival to learn from and to compete with. Dr. Pepperberg provided convincing evidence that Alex had a concept of categories, a concept of more, less, same, and zero, none, a concept of object permanence, and a very good understanding of numbers. All those concepts are considered as important independent cognitive ability milestones in human developmental psychology, and thus researchers back in the day set out and checked if those concepts could be found in animals, such as chimpanzees and other primates too. Well, I guess they had to start somewhere, so they started by looking for similarities in human and animal cognition. Dr. Pepperberg followed the primatologist's path and checked whether Alex could perform similarly. And yes, he did excel. A lot has happened since then. Although most research on bird intelligence so far has been devoted to corvids, parrots are also receiving increasing attention from the international research community. Besides Africa's grey parrot, New Zealand's kea proved to be super smart as well. One study in particular has received a lot of attention recently. This study provided very good evidence for the kea's handling of probabilities. So in a nutshell, in this experiment the keas were taught that black sticks would bring them treats. Then they were presented a setup of a sampler and jars filled with red and black sticks, from which a sampler would take either black or red sticks randomly. First, the keas could estimate where there were more black sticks in a stick collection, so a sampler would sample black sticks with a greater chance. Second, the chaos could consider whether a stick collection was further divided by barriers into subsets. They then understood which stick subset was accessible to the sampler. Third, they observed that some samplers could intervene in the system as game changers, as they would take the black sticks from the stick collection even when it had only few black sticks. So, the chaos put together information as derived via 3 independent cognitive abilities into one bigger picture. On this basis, they knew after which sampling there was a higher probability of a reward, no matter how those concepts had to be combined. That's how science works. Researchers must set up clever experiments, or at least they must collect data in a reproducible way to test very specific hypotheses. It's cumbersome and fuzzy, but it's the only way to reliable knowledge gain. It's above of what we, let's refer to us as amateurs, home experts, or citizen scientists, usually do. However, there's a good exchange of ideas between scientists and us, as well as collaborations. This brings me to another icon in the parrot owner community, Jennifer Cunha, and her journey with her cockatoos, Ellie and Isabel. She adapted a method that made it possible to train parrots without the need for a second trainer. Jennifer Cunha's method also avoids the time delay, in which the parrot must first learn and practice to speak, as well as the bottleneck that some parrots simply cannot vocalize human words very well. Thus, parrot owners like me frequently use Jennifer Cunha's method. The parrot learns to tap 1 out of 2 or more options with its beak, which can be achieved relatively easily if the parrot allows you and the objects he is supposed to tap close enough. If so, this multiple choice method suits parrots in that they only must focus for very short times and quickly receive the solution and the reward. The shortcomings of this method are that you can easily influence the parrot through facial expressions and eye movements, and that you always depend on visualizations, such as flashcards, screens, pictures, and books. If you and your parrots travel and are on the road a lot, it's a bit impractical because you can't always have flashcards, pictures, and books to hand. Of course, there are other approaches too. In the end, it doesn't matter through which methods parrots communicate and learn. If things are going well between parrots and owners, they will work together to find a basis on which they can communicate. It doesn't matter how exactly this happens. I trained communication and intelligence stuff with my 4 parrots, Steffi, Dani, Pippi, and Jenny, via Jennifer Cunha's method from early on. Hildegard Niemann coached me to do it correctly. She also provided good impetus so that the training was well tailored to each of my parrots. In the coming minutes of this video, I will focus on Steffi only, because she made the best progress so far. So, Steffi and I spend 10 to 15 minutes per day for Steffi's training, and Steffi is loving it. She insists on training every day and won't let me get away until she has trained. So, after all, the best thing about this training may not be that Steffi and her friends become little Einsteins, but that it fosters their interactions with human beings, and that it provides a platform for them to express themselves, whatever it may be that they want to express. Anyways, first Steffi learned to count and trained her concepts of numbers. Then she learned to link her number concept with Arabic numerals, so that she no longer needed to work with dots, dashes, and so on. Next she learned to add and to subtract. Steffi now calculates confidently in the range up to 20. And I'm considering to go up to 50 soon.
Wie viel ist 5 und 6? 5 und 6. 11, ja fein, ja, die Stefanie. Ganz toll. Bosi, ganz toll. Das ist gut dann, genau. Mensch, Steffi. Warte, Steffi, ganz ruhig machen. Ich mach ja schon. Wie viel ist 3 und 8? 3 und 8. 11, ja fein, Steffi. Das ist Steffi, meine Süße. Ganz fein, Morgen. Ja, und Dani, alles gut, mein Süßer? Wie viel ist 4 und 8? 4 und 8, Morgen? Sag. 4 und 8.
In my first video, I mentioned that I was going to test whether Steffi could memorize all the different species of Amazon parrots. A friend of mine came up with this idea because Steffi had previously shown that she was very interested in birds. And the more birds I showed her, the more it became clear that she just loved green birds and or parrots. So we thought, okay, let's show her her own kind. These species are not easy to distinguish for us humans. Somehow they are all green and some are so similar that I have to look really closely to spot the differences. Sometimes spotting differences is even like solving picture puzzles. So, what do you think? Can Steffi do it? Before I tell you how the story unfolded, I have to say that this wasn't a scientific study or anything. First and above all, Steffi is my friend. And because I love her so much, I want her to enjoy her training and learning. I would be in a conflict of interest if I also wanted to prove the intelligence of parrots through Steffi and pushed Steffi to her limits. That would be morally questionable. The aim of this video is neither to show around Steffi nor to make a name for myself or anything else, but to inform and motivate others to try new fun things with their animals. By teaming up with animals in new ways, we all can learn something new and broaden our horizons. Okay, so can Steffi memorize and distinguish all Amazon species? Yes, I think so. It took her 2 months of training. Intriguingly, she particularly likes to look at the species that I find the most difficult to distinguish and distinguishes them particularly well. Amazona estiva and its variations, as well as Amazona oratrix, Amazona ocracephala, Amazona auropalliata, and Amazona barbadensis, were immediately memorized. In her own species range, there are also some species that I find confusingly similar, but Steffi has no problems at all in distinguishing them. Steffi is particularly fond of Amazona lilacina, alongside her own species Amazona autumnalis. Steffi's greatest difficulty is not memorizing the appearance of the different species, but understanding my pronunciation well enough. So she makes relatively frequent mistakes when I ask her to distinguish Amazona lilacina and Amazona diadema. However, if I show her Amazona diadema and Salvini, or Amazona salvini alongside Amazona lilacina, Steffi gets it mostly right.
Und wo ist Amazona lilacina? Wo ist Amazona lilacina? Das ist Diadema, Steffi. Wo ist Lilacina? Fein, Steffi, ganz fein. Wo ist Amazona lilacina? Ja, fein, Steffi, ganz toll, Musik. Und wo ist Amazona diadema? Ja, fein. Und wo ist Amazona salvini? Ja, fein, Steffi, ganz toll, Musik. Ganz toll.
It's the same thing with Amazona estiva and Amazona festiva. However, Steffi has no difficulties with distinguishing Amazona festiva and Amazona bodini. So Steffi's visual skills are amazing, but on the other hand, if in a Star Trek world, a human had to live with a creature that was as scary as most humans scare parrots, let's say a Gorn, and the Gorn tested its human's abilities in terms of memorizing various beings of the Star Trek universe, the pet human would probably perform inferior as compared to when it were asked to memorize a variety of human faces. The Gorn would probably wonder how the hell its human memorizes all the alike-looking faces, which the Gorn could probably not distinguish. Just like I am baffled by how Steffi distinguishes all the green, alike-looking Amazon parrots. Also, compared to parrots' visual skills, our human visual skills are probably very poor. Besides Steffi, there are so many more super smart parrots with dedicated owners who go on great learning journeys together. Some birds are aces at reading, and they read entire books. Other birds draw, use tablets confidently. The boundaries of what parrots can learn are being pushed further and further, and that's truly wonderful for those parrots. They love to learn and they love to interact with their humans like that. So I hope this video helped to give you an understanding of the intelligence of parrots and how we humans try to fathom, explore and understand it. While at the beginning I dealt with the topic in a purely scientific way, from about halfway through the video there were more and more intersections with the topics of communication and relationships with our animals. Scientists would intervene here and say, stop, and they'd be right. Things get mixed up and personal relationships spoil objectivity. I have deliberately framed this video this way because it shows one thing above all. The topic of intelligence is super complex. In social animals like us humans and parrots, intelligence does not stand alone. Social cohesion, communication and relationships within groups are what make us the performers we are. No one can build an airplane alone, but most people travel by plane. For parrots too, their social group is essential. So perhaps it's not a problem at all that intelligence is so elusive and that social skills and friendships quickly come into play. Perhaps this tells us that instead of determining the intelligence of individuals, we should look at and study intelligence at a group level. Thank you for watching and see you next time.